Hey everybody, welcome to the On Deck podcast presented by LineStar. I'm Shannon Sommerville here with Tyler Wiemann to break down some of your daily fantasy baseball plays for the late slate we're looking at tonight. 3 games you've got on deck. So we'll get into that with your projections for some of the pitchers and some of your stacks for today. We'll also get to prop bets and home run calls. That's coming up. But first, we've got to take a look at one weather condition today because the 2 of the games are in domes. But Pirates at Cubs will be clear skies, 9-mile-an-hour winds out to right field. So looking good there. 64 degrees, pretty good temps.
Yep, nice baseball weather there.
Nice baseball weather. All right, now let's check out some of our high-owned pitchers for today if you're playing daily fantasy. We've got Marlins righty Pablo Lopez going up against the Cardinals, about 60% owned. He's only given up 1 earned run in 10 1/3, just 2 strikeouts last time out against the Phillies. Also, I have to make a note here because we like to celebrate the live, laugh, love philosophy, specifically the love. And Pablo Lopez got married on his off day yesterday, which is just an interesting nugget. That's the kind of hard-hitting analysis you'll get.
He got married yesterday?
Yes.
And he is pitching today?
Yes, to his longtime girlfriend that he met actually when he was playing in the minor leagues. So a love story on the On Deck podcast for you. But what do we like about his matchup today against the Cardinals in daily fantasy?
All right. Well, Lopez has been a great pitcher the last couple of years. He has a low 3.19 FIP over the last 20 starts. And he has a K rate right around 26%. So there is some upside with his ability. And on the other side, Seattle or St. Louis hasn't been that great versus righties. Only striking out 16% of the time, and they have a low 228 average and a low .133 ISO. So moral of the story here is that Lopez is a good pitcher.
Right.
St. Louis hasn't been great versus righties. Lopez is by far the best pitcher on today's slate.
So he's going to cost you, but he's also going to probably be pretty consistent in putting up some innings for you.
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a look at Mariners lefty Marco Gonzalez going up against the Rangers, about 50% owned here. And it should be noted we don't have a lot to choose from in terms of games for today. I mean, you're talking about 6 guys to choose from, essentially. So
absolutely. And Marco's definitely like the most seasoned starter outside of Pablo Lopez here. And so I understand the ownership. However, there are some things that I worry about here.
Okay.
Over the last 20 starts, he has a 5.38 FIP versus a 3.19 ERA. So the ERA looks great. However, his FIP is a little shaky.
Sure.
And personally, whenever I see that, I kind of expect some regression up to the FIP number. And then a combined K rate for him is probably about 19% today. Now, the thing that really scares me about him is how Texas has done versus lefties. Texas is the 3rd highest in the major leagues with a high WRC plus. They're only striking out 16% of the time, and they have a 283 average versus lefties. And in 101 plate attempts, Texas is hitting 269 off of Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's a good point to make because the teams he's faced so far this season have not been great. I mean, they're bottom 5 in terms of batting average. So he hasn't exactly seen. I know he got lit up his first start.
Yep.
Then in his second start against the Astros, he gave up just 1 earned run, but the Astros haven't really been playing all that well offensively.
They have been the trash throws.
Have to keep going with that for sure.
Yep.
As Yankees and Padres fans, we've got to give him a hard time still. But a pretty good option there maybe, or not really. Or are you just kind of writing him off at this point?
With his ownership, I'm probably not going to be going there.
Yeah.
I actually may go for the other side of this matchup.
All right, well, let's talk about that. You've got lefty Taylor Hearn going up against the Mariners, and he's just 30% owned. Not stellar numbers for him, but what do you like about this particular play?
So Seattle is probably going to be a high-owned stack offensively. So there is some leverage here. So with it being such a small slate, I want to maximize the leverage where I can. And this is a potential spot where I see that as a viability. The other thing is Hearn has a 4.09 FIP. It's not like it's that bad. He's been a decent pitcher. He's had some bad luck, and he's shown 20-point upside in the past. He has a 19 combined K rate, which also it's very similar to Marco. So with all those kind of factors involved, I'm interested at taking some swings.
This would be a risky play, but could really pay off.
Exactly.
Awesome. So let's take a look now at our stacks. And you mentioned the highest owned stack, probably going to be Seattle. What do you think about stacking them?
All right. So there's absolutely reasons to stack them. The BVP data is good in 48 plate appearances. The Mariners are hitting 282 versus Hearn. Hearn has a 7.59 ERA over his last 5 starts. Now, reasons not to stack them is over those last 5 starts, Hearn has a 2.95 FIP. Now, whenever there's that big difference, I always tend to think the FIP is a more reliable number.
Okay.
What FIP is fielding independent pitching. And so it's trying to kind of take out the luck or the chances with fielding, making a mistake or whatnot. In which that is why I tend to
lean that
go
way
with
in terms
more
of
the
stats.
FIP, yeah, instead of ERA.
All right.
So those are kind of the both sides of the Seattle stack.
Yeah.
I get it either way you want to go.
Sure.
But.
So continuing on the trend of high-owned stacks, we've also got the Cubs going up against Pirates righty Bryce Wilson. Last time out, 4 1/3, 2 earned runs. Just 2 strikeouts for him. What is attracting people to the Cubs play?
So the Cubs have been really good against righties. They have a 119 WRC plus.
Yeah, we got Seiya Suzuki in there.
Your boy.
I love him.
And they have at least 5 guys that are going to have over a 200 ISO. Meanwhile, Bryce Wilson, 5.49 FIP, and he's giving up 40% hard contact. So simply he's been getting hit hard.
Yeah.
Cubs have a lot of guys that can hit a righty.
All right, let's take a look at some low-owned stacks. See maybe where you can find a little bit of value. And Texas versus Marco Gonzalez, what are you thinking here?
This, again, is going back to the leverage play with it.
Taking some risks, but could really pay off, especially since, those stacks are so highly owned.
Absolutely. And anytime you're playing against a high-owned pitcher, the likelihood of you cashing may be a little lower. However, if it works out, your likelihood of being in the top 1% is way higher. And so that's kind of what we're doing here. Versus lefties, again, 3rd highest WRC plus, 283 average. They've just been good against lefties. Semien and Seager will probably both be high owned, but there's a lot of guys for Texas that I do like that will be low owned. Maybe Garcia, Solik, Culberson, Lowe, Garver. They would all make great additions to a low-owned stack.
Awesome. Let's take a look at another low-owned stack that you like here, and that's the Pirates going up against Cubs righty Mark Leiter Jr. Great last name, great baseball family, but he got shelled by the Rockies last outing, giving up 7 earned runs in just 3 1/3. I hate picking on a guy who's got some Jersey roots. He went to NJIT, but you might have to do it here.
Funny that you say that you hate picking on him because the whole reason he is here is because of you. She may be using him later or going against him later in this podcast, but Leiter's been awful. And not only to righties, but also to lefties. The Pittsburgh Pirates have a couple guys that hit righties really well. And then, which is kind of weird, he's also been awful to righties. Or to righties with a .503 WOBA, .314 ISO, and over a 10 ERA.
Yeah.
So really hitters on both sides have been hitting him, and I would expect that to continue today. Pittsburgh Pirates is a cheap stack, so if you do want to pay up for Pablo Lopez and Marco Gonzalez, you can.
That's awesome. So we have all your great plays for you today. I know there's not a lot to choose from, so keep that in mind. Make sure you're double checking and doing your own research as well. And now it is time for our home run calls. And we talked about the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Tyler, that is exactly where I'm headed for my home run call today. And first, let me preface this by saying, as a Georgia Bulldog, this one is going to pain me a little bit. But if it pays off, it'll feel good.
Nice.
I'm going with a former Gator, which is a little, going against the Georgia Bulldog in me. But Daniel Vogelbach, the lefty-righty matchup, intrigues me here. And Leiter has just not been good. So I'm definitely going Vogel. He's definitely got some pop, and I think he's going yard today.
All right, I
Where you
like
headed?
it. I am heading to Chicago with Patrick Wisdom. He has been on absolute fire lately. The last 7 days, he's hitting .421. He has 2 home runs. He has 1,000 slugging percent. And I just want to ride the hot streak versus a weak pitcher.
Let's do it. And the wind is blowing out at Wrigley
It
just
is.
a little bit. So
Mild
Nice.
temperatures,
Yeah,
wind
for
blowing
sure.
out. I like it.
So those are our home run picks. Now it is time for some prop bets. And with our prop bets today, not a lot of great options to choose from. I'm going to preface it with that because we kind of had to sort through a lot to find some really good value. A lot of the obvious picks, just the value wasn't there when I was looking through it. So, what did you find on your prop bet for today?
All right, with my prop bet today, I am going with Seiya Suzuki
Oh, I already love it.
over 7.5 fantasy points. And I found that on Underdog Fantasy, which if you use our affiliate link, you can get 3 months free of premium LineStar.
We like those deals for sure. So Seiya Suzuki over 7.5 fantasy points. I love that play. Specifically, you talked about how the Cubs have a favorable matchup today. And Seiya Suzuki, personally, I think he's one of the most exciting players to watch in baseball right now. So I'm always going to support you in those endeavors that you take with Suzuki. I actually have 2 for you today that I found. One is a little more risky than the other, but not really, because we're talking Corey Seager. Over 1.5 bases, plus 100. He has hit that mark in about half of his games this season. He's .310 on the season. And Taylor Hearn, who we'll be going up against today, lasted just 3 1/3 against the Angels. Just hasn't been looking that great so far. And the Rangers pitching staff has the highest ERA in all of baseball. They've given up the 4th most hits, so I'm loving this play with Corey Seager. The other one I want to get to is Pirates slugger Daniel Vogelbach. I'm going with his runs prop at -115. Now, I love this play. He's also my home run pick for today. It's a lefty bat going up against Cubs righty Mark Leiter, who we talked about how he got shelled by the Rockies last outing, and Vogelbach is batting .324 on the season, and he's collected a run in 4 of 10 games this season. So that, combined with the fact that he's got a very favorable matchup today, is what intrigues me about this particular prop bet. So remember, you can follow all our prop bets and be sure to follow our home run calls. It'll be all on Twitter. And then you can download the LineStar app if you want to get all the advanced analytics and statistics that we use to make our prop bets and all of our picks for the show. And be sure to bet responsibly, take our advice, but also do your own research as well and bet responsibly. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.